I was invited to a blacksmith challenge, and I want to tell this story to you about how it went and what I learned. I'm James Tower, and I'm the blacksmithing pastor. I do believe that God has led me to this path of blacksmithing. It's been a very healing path, and I do plan to make devotional videos, build videos. I really want to explore the spiritual side of blacksmithing. And I believe there really is one because the biblical model of transformation that we find in the Bible of is very similar. There's a process to it. There's so many spiritual parallels, there's so many things in the Bible that have come to life to me because of my experience with doing metalwork the ancient way that it was done for thousands of years. I went with a bunch of guys who have a blacksmithing club that's called Ark Valley Hideout. And they were a neat bunch of guys. I'd never been to anything like that before. And I had never competed at blacksmithing anything. So they did a challenge called the Black Box Challenge, and they had a box with armholes cut in it. And somebody made an item and they put it in that box. And no one got to see the item that we were trying to make. We only had 1 minute to reach into the box and feel the item. And we had to forge from what we felt, what we were trying to make. And then you were judged on how well you did. And you were timed. The clock got in my head. We had 1 full minute to feel the item, the initial feel. And then we had 2 30-second quick feels that we could use to refine the item, make sure that it worked. So this is the item that I made. This is my version of the item that was in the box. I will show you in the video the real item that I was trying to match. And it just felt weird. It's got this kind of weird offset loop on the feet. It's got twisty thing. I wasn't sure if it was like a lid lifter or what it was, but I actually lost to Tracy because Tracy there was actually a bottle opener. And on bottle openers, often you would take a punch and drive in a small indent to push out a little lip of material. And there was a little lip pushed out right here. And Tracy felt that and made that and figured out what the item was. But nobody else in the entire challenge was able to do that. But it's pretty rough forging, and I'll tell you, I had a lot of frustrations. Making the ring was really hard for me. Twisting the item in an unfamiliar place was very, very difficult. I didn't know where the twisting wrench was, so I just used a pair of tongs, and then it messed it all up. And then I wasn't able to really get it, started right. I had to open it back up and retwist it a bunch of times, and so it's honestly, I think it looks pretty crummy. And the other thing about a challenge like that is there's a clock ticking. So we had 2 hours for the challenge, and when you get the update, like the first hour is gone, or you get the update that you only have half an hour left or 15 minutes left. It just kind of, the clock gets in your head. It was actually really, the one saving grace that I have is when I usually make things, because I make things to sell, is I'm actually trying to work really fast. So I'll have like way too many irons in the fire, so to speak, a whole bunch of items in the forge that I'm working on, different kinds of stuff all at once. And it's chaos, but I actually really like that. And I like the not having to wait for a piece to heat up and just keep working, But in this item, just focusing on the one item, I mean, I guess there was 2 parts of it, but I had to focus on waiting for the item to heat back up enough that I could mess with it again. Felt like it took forever. And so it was like the clock was ticking and it was racing by and there wasn't going to be enough time. And it also at the same time felt like it was standing still. And that was a new experience for me to just feel torn in time like that. James, my friend who runs the group up there, he made the point about how there's kind of a sermon illustration in not being able to see what it is that you're working on. And in the book of James, I believe in chapter 4, there's this talk about a double-minded person. And in the Bible, James, he makes this point that a person who is double-minded, person without integrity basically, is like a person who looks at their face in the mirror and then they walk away from the mirror and they forget what their face looks like. And that's, as far as your identity goes, obviously, if you're shifting your identity all the time, that's going to cause you some problems. It's going to mess with your life. It's going to be like you don't know who you are because you're living a lie. And that makes perfect sense to me. When it comes to making an item like this that isn't, close up here of the item, but when it comes to making an item like this and not ever actually having seen it and just doing it by feel, you get this mental model of what it is that you're looking at. I mean, I drew a quick sketch of what I thought it looked like right away. I had to keep going back to the box and feeling the item and make sure that what I was making was right. And there's things that were wonky, like the length of the item was longer. The hoop, I think, was deeper. This, I don't think, would open a bottle. And honestly, I don't have much use for a bottle opener. So I'm probably going to use it for a pot holder and just leave this ring on there just because it was cool to make for the challenge. And obviously there's a lot of cleanup and putting a coat of wax and protective coat on there, a finish coat. But I had no idea what this item was. And that's part of the illustration, right? When you don't know who you are, you don't know what you're for, it's hard to construct your life. It's hard to get an accurate representation of who you are and why it matters, right? And we need the Lord. We need the Lord to teach us to walk in integrity and holiness. We need to know what our function is, what our purpose is. But I've, grown up without a father in my life. I didn't have that model. I didn't look at my dad, my biological dad. I didn't get to meet till I was 36. But I didn't grow up knowing who my dad was. I didn't grow up, when a kid looks at their dad, they know, hey, I'm gonna kind of be like that. Hey, I might look like that. Hey, I might have these health problems like my dad does. There's these things that I should watch out for. But I grew up with a vacuum there, not knowing who I was, not knowing what my purpose was. And there's an illustration in there. When you're trying to build your life and you don't know what you're trying to do, what the purpose is, and you're working from a mental model that you haven't actually seen the bigger picture of, that's an awkward thing. And so one of the spiritual truths, I guess, that this challenge got me to think about was just that kind of integrity, having a clear vision of what it is that you're doing and why. If I got to look at that item, I would have thought, hey, that's a funny looking bottle opener, but I would have figured out that it was a bottle opener right away. I would have seen it. And in the making of the item, I do a lot of stuff by eye, and in blacksmithing, you don't have to go to a thousandth of an inch on a lot of stuff unless you're trying to make something to match something else. When you look at it, you see what it's for. You see the purpose. You see the changes that are being made as you make them, and you can compare something to something else. If I actually could look at the item and walk up to it with the piece that I was making, I would have a much better chance of making a perfect recreation, or at least as close as I could do with the skills and abilities that I have. So I'm going to show some video of the challenge. I tried to set up the camera. I was trying to shoot a video, compete in a competition. It's not the best video, but the story, I think, was really neat. It was fun. Just blacksmithing for the love of blacksmithing. Everybody put $10 in the pot. The money was supposed to go to the winner. And God did something pretty neat with that too, even though I didn't actually win any money. But I'll talk about that maybe some other time. But competing, and the first part of, I started out, I made the ring because I knew I'd have to hot cut something, and I started out making the ring just so I could have that part done. And my ring was a little bit smaller than it should have been. And the length of the piece was different, but the number of wraps on the piece was the same. This, on the actual model it actually kind of curled the other way, which was weird. It was actually a different way of doing that I didn't quite copy, because I didn't know, I didn't feel it enough to know which side that was coming from. And that would have been that wouldn't have been intuitive in my mind to do it that way. Some of the details on this are, they're not the prettiest, honestly. And I might throw it back in the forge and tweak it, or I might just leave it, because the pressure of the event was really interesting. The competition part of it, the using an unfamiliar anvil, an unfamiliar forge, working with a bunch of people I don't hardly know who love blacksmithing, having people actually, the pressure of having people judge the work that I did as objectively as they can. There was a point system, and they went by and looked at the different parts, and you got points for if you did what you were supposed to do, and lost points if you didn't.
This is how we placed them. Come and get a look. And there's the model piece over there. First, second, third.
Honorable mention.
Yes. There were some really things that were really close. It was hard to decipher because you're splitting one, did do this, or did do this, and so it was really hard to, compare this and that. That's how we all felt that they ended up.
Forged in Fire, the show, a lot of people, well, they probably look at the show and they're like, wow, like why does it take them so long to do that? It just doesn't seem like it would take that long. They get like 6 hours to make their first knife, and most people would probably be like, that seems like a long time until you've actually made a knife. But the pressure of competition, I think if I ever do get to go on Forged in Fire, which who knows, I'm not the best knife maker, but if I get to go on there someday, I think doing these challenges will really be an asset, because I'll know the head game part of competing. And there are other fruits from just challenging yourself, just pushing the boundaries. Like, I feel like hanging out with this group of guys, getting together once in a while with them when I can, will challenge me and push me to grow in the art and skill of blacksmithing. It will help my work be better. It will help my work be faster. It will, like, I never would have thought to make something like this. I never would have thought to make something like this, because it's just not the kind of style. It's just somebody else made something, and I got a whole different perspective on it. So there's a lot of things that we can get wrong. There's a lot of growth that we can do. And when you're not tested, you don't know. You might think, oh, I'm good. I'm great at this. But me working alone in my shop, I got all the time in the world. If it takes me if I mess something up and get a chance to fix it, like, nobody's going to notice. But in a blacksmith challenge, having thought it out and doing it right and having the right mental map, there are all these difficulties. And I was able to take second place, and I lost to a professional farrier, a guy named Tracy, who is really, really good.
Who was beaten? Very good, Tracy.
Yeah.
Michaels.
One winner.
Good job.
One time.
You were the wiener. Who was Jay?
That was me.
That was you? Very good. Very good. Abe? Who was Abe? You. Was that you?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You got third place, right?
No, me.
Yep. Yep. That's the way we ranked them.
And we actually did it in the box. We just threw them in there and felt.
There was a lot of
That
things
was
going
close.
on. There was the flatness of this. There was the ring. There was I don't know how many of you guys on purpose did a right hand twist. Some of you guys were really close, got a left hand twist. And the only one who felt of that little deal right there that made it the functional tool that it is, it's a bottle opener. And that's,
Oh.
This one was me up, so I just kind of felt and see what I thought it was, and then I felt that little deal in there, and I was like, man, that's cool.
very good, guys. That was fun. That was a lot of fun for me. It was really hard not to man, I wanted to be in there with you guys, beating on that stuff. It really sucked. But it was fun to build the piece for you guys. So Trace, next time you build the piece.
Good. I don't have to judge it, right?
Yeah, you do. I had to judge it.
Another thought, just a real quick thought, is where are you challenging yourself? Where are you competing? Where are you contending for something good? Where are you pushing yourself, and not just accepting the current level of skill that you have? How are you going about growing? Doing things differently? Doing something just for the love of doing it, just because it's awesome to do and you get the opportunity to do it. Hanging out with people who will challenge you and push you, peers that will push you to grow in what you love to do and make you see things differently. And I think God can really use that. I just thank you for letting me tell you a little bit about the story of this whole Blacksmith Challenge journey. And I would like to invite you to explore that journey with me. It'd be fun to have you watch my videos and stay connected. It'd be fun to explore the Christian spiritual side of blacksmithing and have you come along with me. And so if you would like the video, share the video with people that might actually like the video. If you would comment on the video, that's a free way you could support me. But for now, I just thank you for watching, and I thank you for your attention, your time. And I hope that you would be blessed by what I'm trying to do. Take care, blessings on you, and I'll see you for the next one.